Liberals are happy. New Democrats aren't. Carney heads to Europe, and Poilievre is going south for the political March break. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
Navigating the issues that matter to you. It's Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
You win some and you lose some, and lately in Canadian politics, it's been the Liberals doing most of the winning. In what's become a familiar sight, Prime Minister Mark Carney could be seen welcoming another floor crosser into the Liberal family, this time someone who was elected as a New Democrat, Laurie Idlout from Nunavut.
It is a great pleasure. One of Canada's greatest constituency MPs. You represent a riding that is the size of Mexico and very down to earth. And we've had conversations about what we can do, both large and small, in Nunavut. Large projects, but also helping everyone get ahead. So all for Canada, Canada for all.
When cornered by members of the press gallery, Idlout was asked if she was promised anything for crossing the floor to join the Liberals.
It wasn't just one thing that happened. There are a variety of many things that have allowed me to really reflect on this, and I'm very thankful to be so warmly welcomed.
This is the fourth floor-crossing MP the Liberals have managed to lure over from the opposition. The other three were all Conservatives. And it's a huge blow to the NDP. It reduces that party's numbers in the House of Commons to just 6. There's lots of speculation the party will lose another member. Their only Quebec MP is considering a jump to provincial politics. And the timing looks bad as party members are voting for a new leader right now. The NDP's interim leader, Don Davies, accused Idlout of breaking a sacred trust.
The position of the New Democratic Party on floor crossing is long-standing and clear. To us, the decision of voters at the ballot box is a sacred trust. And if a member of Parliament wants to override that decision, we believe they must go back to the voters and make that case to them and receive a renewed mandate. Any questions?
Was there anything that happened within the NDP caucus that would have pushed Laurie out as opposed to drawing her to the Liberals?
Look, in these times, Canada needs New Democrats more than ever. People are losing their jobs. People can't access health care. They can't afford rent or to buy a house. They can't put food on the table. Working people are being left behind. And New Democrats will never stop fighting for working people and improving the lives of them across Canada.
But what does it mean for the future of the party? You're in a leadership race, and sorry to point it out, but there's an MP behind you that's talking about leaving the party. So where does that leave you?
Well, you know, I'm becoming increasingly concerned by the way that Mr. Carney is trying to stitch together a majority government in this country. Once again, to us, whether or not there's a majority government is fundamentally a decision of the Canadian people at the ballot box. And it should happen that way, not through backroom deals cut behind closed doors in Ottawa.
The NDP's loss is the Liberals' gain, and it brings the governing party one step closer to a majority government, with a trio of by-elections looming. And a pair of those are being held in what are traditionally viewed as safe Liberal ridings in the Toronto area. Steve McKinnon is the Liberal MP working on a lot of these talks behind the scenes. He's a veteran political operator, and he's the government's House leader.
Canadians elect MPs, and they've elected Madame Idlout, just like they elected me and 341 others. And we are sent here to exercise our judgment. The country's at a very important pivot point, and I know that a lot of people are responding to what the Prime Minister is putting forward as a strategy for our country.
After tomorrow's brief session in the House of Commons, MPs will be calling it quits for a while. It will be their March break. And Prime Minister Carney will be spending part of it in Norway. His plane leaves tonight for Oslo, While there, he'll observe a NATO War Games exercise. Before that, Mr. Carney's in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories today for an announcement on Arctic security. After visiting Norway, the Prime Minister will take a vacation and spend some time in the UK and Italy. Mr. Poilievre is heading south for his March break. The Conservative leader posted some details about his travels in a video on his social media accounts.
First stop, Michigan, where I'll meet with auto leaders and state legislators to defend an integrated North American auto industry and fight for tariff-free trade that protects Canadian jobs. Then I'm off to Texas to advocate for Canadian energy because our resources make both our countries stronger, safer, and richer. And finally, I'm headed to New York to deliver a keynote address on the historic partnership between Canada and the United States, two neighbors, allies, and economic partners. As I said in a recent speech, we need to leverage the relationship we have with the American people. We should all be reaching out to American business, unions, media, governors, investors, mayors, civic leaders, and the administration itself as we work to fight for tariff-free trade and security cooperation.
The Liberals are headed into the political March break with a very comfortable lead in the polls. The last 4 polls show support for the Liberals between 44 and 49%. Conservative support well back, 30 to 36%. This Saturday, by the way, the first anniversary of Mark Carney being sworn in as Prime Minister of Canada after winning the Liberal Party's leadership. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
He's my friend on the right side of things. Michael Taube is back. Columnist for the National Post, Loonie Politics, and Troy Media. And he was a speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Welcome back.
Hey, Rob. How are you doing today?
Very good. It seems to be only a matter of time, Michael, until Prime Minister Mark Carney leads a majority government. A majority government that, for all intents and purposes, will have been assembled with the help of 4 MPs who crossed the floor. What do you think about how this unfolded?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to really play games on this. He is going to get a majority. That is almost 100% guarantee. It would basically, he has to win 2 of 3 by-elections which are going on, including 2 very safe Toronto ridings, which are Scarborough Southwest and University Rosedale, which have been in the Liberal hands for many elections, both of them, other than like just an intermittent little intervention by someone else or another political party for like a term. That's really all about it. So although obviously the Conservatives will try, the NDP, whatever's left of them will try, etc., the end result is going to be is that Carney will have his majority. What do I think of it? Well, look, there's nothing legally or illegal about what he did. He just basically convinced people to cross the floor. It's perfectly acceptable, as I told one person, but it's not something that's necessarily admirable, the way he's done it. You know, you would want to face the electorate to see if it makes sense and if the electorate is happy with you and if they want a majority government. You know, if you look at polls, and I'm sure you have discussed it with other guests, the Liberals seem to be ahead by big margins on most of the polls. But again, polls have to be treated with a grain of salt. We should learn a lesson from what happened in last year's federal election when Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives had a big lead, which was 20-plus points in most senses and in most instances, and was actually up to 25 or close to on others. And in the end, Donald Trump, in his tariff threat, changed the whole course of the election, more than any other political party did in this country. So anything can happen. And does that mean that Mark Carney and the Liberals were a bit worried that the same thing could happen to them if they called an early election? Yes, it's possible. But on the other hand, if it's easy enough for them to do it this way, where they can convince 3 Conservative MPs and now an NDP MP to cross the floor to the Liberals, for them, obviously, it's a sign of victory, and they're going to celebrate over it. But should we be pleased with it? Should we be proud of it? Should they be proud of it? No.
No, but you don't see anything, say, illegitimate about it.
No, there's nothing illegitimate about it until the rules are changed. I mean, the rules should be changed. A lot of people believe that. I believed it long before this actually happened. And I think really what should happen is MPs who cross the floor should actually resign their seats and run in a by-election. I've always thought that was the simplest way to do it. I don't care which party they're from, but that's not the rule, and that's not the way things work in Canadian politics, and it's not illegal the way they're doing it.
All right. So give us a better sense. Everybody is saying, well, these are safe Toronto seats. It's a shoe-in. What makes them safe Toronto seats, these two Toronto area ridings?
Well, besides the fact that, large swaths of Toronto are very much on the Liberal side, or they used to be, supportive of the NDP, there's just not to use the Conservatives as an easy one, there's just not a Conservative stronghold in the city. Now, it doesn't make Toronto unique, Rob. Lots of major cities, including Vancouver and Edmonton, have the same sort of problem at times, depending on where they are. Generally speaking, bigger cities tend to prefer left-of-center parties, like the Liberals and the NDP or otherwise, or the Greens, as an example. So in Toronto, it's actually pretty safe. And plus, the history of Scarborough, Southwest, and University Rosedale, as I briefly alluded to, it has largely been in the Liberal camp in both instances. It's been a long time since the Conservative was competitive in either riding. And in one of them, an NDPer held it for one term and it went right straight back to the Liberals. So these are two easy seats for them. Terrebonne, which is closer to you, and it's in Quebec, that's a real toss-up, and that could go either way between the Liberals and Bloc Québécois, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Bloc won it. But in Toronto, those two ridings, very safe for the Liberals.
How do you think that just the fact that it's all but certain now that it's going to be a Liberal majority government for the foreseeable future, how do you think that should change the approach for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives? The fact that they're kind of not going to have to constantly be on this election footing of a minority government.
Yeah, well, there's two parts to that. One, which I wrote about actually in the Post, the National Post, some months ago, was there's not a big difference between a one-seat Liberal minority and a one-seat Liberal majority. I'm just paraphrasing, obviously. The dynamics are pretty much the same. The only difference is you're just slightly in a better position in the latter category. But for the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre, well, if nothing else, the onus of a possible federal election or early election call seems off the table, unless more by-elections occur and more people cross the floor, whatever happens. But as of right now, or within a few months, I think it's safe to say that the Liberals will have a very slim majority, as they had a very slim minority government, or a very close minority government. And for them, it gives them time to rebuild. Poilievre then needs that time to continue to build up his image, go on to different TV shows and various podcasts, as he's doing. And rumor has it he's sitting somewhere in Texas, could be Joe Rogan, and rebuild his image. That's what he's got to do.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think of that. Okay. Yeah. When we come back, we will talk about U.S. politics. Look ahead to the midterms this fall with Michael Taube, columnist with the National Post, Loonie Politics, Troy Media, speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
You have questions.
Now You Know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
Michael Taube is back with us, syndicated columnist, speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Midterm election day, Michael, in the United States is November 3rd. I don't think it's going to be a good night for Trump and the Republicans. What do you think? What's your sense of it right now?
Well, in fairness, it's still over 6 months and a lot can happen, and we have to sort of see how long the war in Iran lasts and what the ultimate result is. As of right now, if the election were held today, I think it's fair to say that your evaluation is probably correct. I think there would certainly be a split in the two houses. I think the Republicans are still safe enough in the Senate by a razor-thin margin, but I could see the Democrats winning the House of Representatives by, maybe not significant, but by enough that they control it. And that would split the two houses, and that would obviously hamstring U.S. President Donald Trump's power to put through his agenda, because he would always have one house, opposing him. So it will certainly change the political dynamic in the United States for sure. But again, there's a lot of time. There's a lot of things that can still happen. And like I said, there's a war overseas that could make or break Donald Trump. I mean, based right now, and if you just look at polls for whatever they're worth, which again, like I said in the previous segment, you have to take with a grain of salt. A lot of Americans are frustrated with this war or opposed to it, but there are plenty of Americans who are on side. So it's just a question of how things work out. But right now, based on Trump's low personal poll numbers, although they're a little bit better this week from what I saw in a couple of surveys, and not conservative ones, so that's interesting. And the fact that Americans are looking a little bit more, I wouldn't say favorably is probably the best, about the war overseas in Iran, it may work to his advantage, but right now, based on a very difficult year, it's hard not to see the two houses splitting.
I mean, midterms are traditionally never great for the governing party anyway.
No.
That's been my experience, that like losses would be expected. But why do you think there would be, I don't know, reason to be optimistic for the GOP?
Oh, you're absolutely right about, for presidents, midterms are always awful. I mean, Bill Clinton obviously remembers the earthquake election in 1994, which brought, the House over to the Republican side for the first time in decades. So, yes, things can happen. But, yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a cheery point of time for the Republicans, and there's a lot of issues going on. There's certain difficulties with the economy. Tariffs are not the be-all and end-all that Donald Trump wants them to be. Gas prices, much like in Canada, are a bit of a mess. Real estate is, still not wonderful. I agree with all that. So it is definitely problematic. But on the other hand, I think that Trump has to basically, and I think he will do this, will just continue on with his agenda, which sometimes is long-term and sometimes just seems to be day-to-day. And he has to basically hope that Americans come back on side, as they did with him when he returned to the White House in 2024, and see where it goes from there. So I don't think you'll see a ton of changes, but there are certainly modifications going on, and Trump's language is changing a little bit too, so it's interesting.
Okay. Great to hear from you this week, as always. Thank you so much. We'll get caught up next week. Yeah, bye-bye. That is Michael Taube. You can read him in the National Post and at Loonie Politics and at Troy Media. And he was a speechwriter for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Coming up right after the news, it is our Thursday Newsday panel. And on Thursdays, that means it's Focus Nova Scotia. And it's been a big week in Nova Scotia politics. The big news story, Houston's budget back down. Premier Houston, after saying just a week ago he was willing to stay the course, came out in the last week and reversed many of his budget cuts and said he was sorry, went too far, and apologized. So we'll talk about that when we come back. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
It's time for our Thursday Newsday panel. That means it's time for Focus Nova Scotia, as we welcome back once more Clinton Desveaux, columnist and political commentator. Welcome back. Clinton, great to hear from you again. Thank you for coming on again.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here.
So much to talk about. Along with Lisa Blackburn, former Halifax City Councillor and NDP candidate. Lisa, great to hear from you again.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
So let's talk about Houston's budget back down. Why don't we, let's just listen to the Premier in explaining earlier in the week to reporters at the legislature why he is restoring some of the funding that was slated for cuts. Let's roll clip one of Tim Houston, please.
Nova Scotians have spoken clearly. Many people told us that they were worried about certain parts of the budget. And I want to start by saying this. On some of the decisions, we got it wrong. And for that, I'm sorry. Because the legislature is still reviewing the budget, we have the opportunity to make adjustments now before it's finalized, and we're going to do just that. My job as Premier is to keep the province safe and to bring people together. I never want Nova Scotians to feel like their government is working against them. In preparing the budget, we focused heavily on the financial pressures facing our province, and we did not do enough ahead of time to explain to Nova Scotians the seriousness of the challenge. But in trying to respond to the financial challenges, we moved too quickly.
We moved too quickly. I'm sorry, and we're reversing course on some, not all, but some of these cuts. What do you think about what you're hearing from the Premier of Nova Scotia, Clinton Desveaux?
Well, Rob, it's really fascinating because what we're seeing from Tim Houston is kind of an important political lesson, and that's the ability to admit when one has made a mistake. The other interesting thing is that we've seen this pattern in Ontario when Doug Ford has been confronted with pushback from the public. He'll often, sort of relook at the policy, make some changes, that kind of thing. So it's kind of interesting from a conservative perspective, where you see this kind of difference between, progressive conservatives and some of those more hard-line conservatives that we see in Western Canada.
Lisa, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the Premier said that some of the decisions were handled too clinically. And, in many cases, a lot of these cuts were brought to ministers without consultation from the very folks that were going to be impacted. Nobody from the seniors or the disability community were consulted, or, they didn't even meet with them to discuss possibilities. It was, ministers were given their marching orders, just go and find these savings, and that was it. And I think they completely misread Nova Scotians and what they value.
Lisa, what do you think this is a complete change from the Premier who was speaking a week ago? What was that light bulb moment? What happened, do you think?
I think the reversal happened in the public backlash for sure. I mean, advocacy groups, they mobilized very quickly, the disability community in particular. Protests at Province House have been ongoing for the last 2 weeks. And I mean, the other thing too, the political optics of it is that these cuts appeared to target vulnerable communities. Disability programs, seniors, African, Nova Scotian, and Indigenous initiatives. So, certainly that didn't go down very well with Nova Scotians. And, internal political pressure, I think, had a lot to do with it as well, because many of the grants and cuts were tied to community programs in rural areas that, MLAs rely on locally. So I think he was getting some blowback from inside as well.
Don't caucus. That's interesting. Okay. What do you think, Clinton? What was the light bulb moment in the last week? This is a 1 week reversal.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important question. And I think the answer to that, I take a little different position from Lisa, but I'm sure she might agree with what I'm going to say. Nova Scotia is still a relatively small province. So the Premier of Nova Scotia, whether he's in Halifax or whether he's in his home outside of Pictou, it's a small community where basically everybody knows everyone. And so it's harder to isolate yourself from public criticism or public pushback. And so my guess is that, that the Premier's friends and neighbors may have said to him, like, hey, we got to rethink this. And so, that's one of the advantages to a smaller populated area compared to a place like Ontario, for example.
All right, that's interesting. There are still community groups, student groups, and what have you, who say even the remaining cuts go too far and we're not easing up on the pressure. Do you think he will hold firm from here, Clinton? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's going to. I mean, I don't think he has, I think it's good that he's sort of reframing this. He's made a formal apology, but he's still going to proceed with, some spending cuts and some reprioritization, because the reality is Nova Scotia has a revenue shortfall. And Nova Scotia needs to drive its economy in order to, make that up over the medium and long term. So, yeah, I do think he's going to maintain the ones that he's doing now.
Do you think that's the case, Lisa?
Absolutely, and I think these groups are going to be looking carefully at the numbers because part of the debate that I saw in the legislature last night, the interim Liberal leader was actually, tabling the numbers, and he was indicating that the amount that was being put back was not equal to the amount that was being taken out. So, there's certainly some controversy about whether 100% of what was taken out of the budget is now back in the budget. So that'll be interesting to watch play out in the coming hours in the legislature.
All right. We're just getting started on this topic. Clinton Desveaux, Lisa Blackburn are here. It's Focus Nova Scotia for our Thursday News Day panel. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now you know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
With Focus Nova Scotia, Clinton Desveaux is with us. So is Lisa Blackburn. We're talking about the Nova Scotia budget. The left-wingers in Nova Scotia are saying Premier Houston manufactured a budget crisis. Cut the HST, adjusted income tax brackets, eliminated bridge tolls, eliminated parking fees at hospitals, add up all that lost government revenue, in air quotes, lost government revenue. It's more than $400 million. So this is a manufactured budget crisis by the Nova Scotia PC government. Lisa Blackburn, what do you think of that? Is there any merit to that?
I don't know if I would call it a manufactured crisis, but, certainly they cut revenue and then cut the program. I think they went about it ass backwards. And certainly, they keep shooting themselves in the foot as well with, things like, I'm just looking at, some of the things that they did. Cut the HST by 1%. They made adjustments to the income tax bracket. They took the tolls off the Halifax bridges, and they eliminated the parking fees at hospitals. On the surface, it all sounds like it's fantastic, but where are the numbers? Where are the facts to back up? That the HST reduction could be done and done in a fiscally responsible way. I mean, all of those policies have meant a reduction in revenue of $400 million. And, at the same time as the Premier is ordering a study into HRM's traffic congestion, he's lifted the tolls off the Halifax bridges. That's only increased traffic. I mean, the numbers are in. Traffic is up. At the same time, he's also ordered everyone who works for the province to go back to work 5 days a week in the office. So, it's kind of a bit of a schizophrenic approach to policy where he just keeps doing things and then, changing course.
I'd like to know what you think about this, Clinton, because, the narrative is the Nova Scotia government doesn't have a budget crisis, except the one that the Premier created by foregoing all of this revenue. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't subscribe to that at all. So, first of all, Nova Scotia has the third oldest population in all of Canada. Then you add to the fact that we're living in an affordability era right now where there's a crisis across the country. And Nova Scotia has relatively high taxes compared to the rest of the country. So then the question becomes, what are they going to do in order to try to bring taxes more in line with the rest of Canada so that Nova Scotia can be a more competitive place? And then, of course, you need to be able to attract a lot more private sector investment in the province so that you can generate more revenue to pay for the social programs that everybody wants. So, there is a spending problem. And there's also a revenue problem. So, it's a combination of the two that needs to be resolved. And so at the end of the day, that's not going to happen until you get some of the spending under control. But then you also need to find new revenue generation. And so that's going to require things like, offshore oil and gas development. That's going to require critical minerals like mining. That's going to require all of that stuff. So, Nova Scotia is facing a real economic crisis. And it's not something that we can sort of stick our heads in the sand and ignore.
Okay. I mean, this is a pretty big political PR blunder, if you ask me. We had come out one week and you said, no, we're in tough times and these cuts have to stay. In the following week, you're issuing an apology. Went too fast. But what are the chances that, longer term is pretty early into this term, that this erodes support for the PCs and actually breathes some life into a pair of what are essentially very weak opposition parties in Nova Scotia? What do you think, Lisa?
Well, I wouldn't call the opposition in Nova Scotia weak. I would think that, I think that Claudia Chender and the NDP are doing a really good job of holding the Premier's feet to the fire. But political impact, I think it'll be limited. I mean, Houston still has very strong personal approval. Yeah, he's got strong personal approval numbers. This reversal may actually diffuse the issue, although the cuts to the arts programs are still on the books, and that is a very vocal community that has their vocalness has won them in the past when provincial governments tried to cut the film tax credits. So, we have seen the arts community mobilized before, and I think we will see them mobilized again.
What sort of political damage has this done, Clinton? Very quickly.
I think this benefits Premier Tim Houston. I think that the majority of Nova Scotians will look at this and say he's admit to making a mistake. He's publicly apologized for it, and he's going to make some changes. And so I think that the voters in general like people that are willing to move and willing to bend and not necessarily stick with something because it's, what their party base wants or expects.
Okay, when we come back, we'll revisit an issue we talked about a few weeks ago, the future of the Halifax Forum. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Clinton Desveaux, Lisa Blackburn, both with us for Focus Nova Scotia Thursday Newsday panel. Let's talk about the Halifax Forum redevelopment project. It appears to be moving ahead. $126 million project. There's an old rule for mayors in municipal politics. If you're going to lose a vote, don't hold the vote. But that didn't happen here. So it has me wondering, was Mayor Fillmore caught off guard, or did he want to lose the vote because he doesn't want his name attached to what he sees as a looming fiasco? What do you think, Lisa Blackburn?
I think I think it all suggests that the mayor misread council on this one. I mean, for those not familiar, the Halifax Forum is close to 100 years old. Its main attraction is that it has two large ice rinks. It's been the downtown destination for folks who play hockey for generations. But it also has a lot of community rooms, and it's been used for a lot of concerts over the years. And initially, it was going to be $38 million to redevelopment back. I mean, those were the numbers that were floated in 2014. Right now, it's got a price tag of $126 million, and that's just way too expensive for a couple of ice rinks and some nostalgia. But I do think that the mayor's position is certainly a solid one, and I think he misread council by calling that vote.
Okay. What do you think, Clinton?
Well, Rob, the Halifax Forum is the 40-year-old headache that never goes away. And I agree with your analysis that the mayor misread council. And quite frankly, I think that the public, that the majority of Haligonians have a different view than some of the louder voices that we're hearing that rally around the forum. Like Lisa said, it's a 100-year-old building. It's out of date. The amenities are not are lacking, and it's a large property that I think could be better used if it was redeveloped, in a different way. And I do think this is a potential boondoggle in the making when they're looking at $130 million.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, but Lisa, if not this, then what? Clinton, the last time he was here, said bulldoze it and put up housing. Is that what you think should happen?
I think there's no doubt that the Forum does provide some essential recreation infrastructure. I mean, there is a shortage of accessible ice time in Halifax, period, end of sentence. And we definitely need those two ice surfaces. I think there are ways that you can build a combination community space, ice surface that pays tribute to the history of the Forum, perhaps uses some of the bricks. You can sell off the old seats in the Forum to raise money. There are all sorts of possibilities that are available. So, I would like to see all of those things explored, but it's, at $126 million when Haligonians are looking at a 10% tax increase on their bills this year, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly at all.
Well, it's certainly grown wings by the sounds of it. Okay, thank you to the both of you. We'll speak soon.
Thank you very much, Rob.
Yeah, we'll speak soon. Always a pleasure. Clinton Desveaux, columnist, political commentator, and former Halifax City Councillor and NDP candidate Lisa Blackburn. Talkback after the news on News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. Today's topic is the war. Here's the main question. We'll see where the conversation goes from here today. Are you optimistic or pessimistic that this war will be over soon? Optimistic, pessimistic, what would you say? 1-833-668-2577. Would you say, I'm optimistic this war will be over soon? Or would you say, no, I'm pessimistic that this war is going to be over anytime soon? I mean, when you listen to President Trump, he sounds very optimistic that this war will be coming to an end. This is what he said a couple of days ago when he was speaking about Operation Epic Fury. Clip 1, please.
On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very soon. Look, everything they have is gone, including their leadership. In fact, there are two levels of leadership, and even actually, as it turns out, more than that. But two levels of leadership are gone. Most people have never even heard about the leaders that they're talking about. So it's obviously been very, very powerful, very effective.
Everything they have is gone. It will be over soon, very soon. And as a follow-up, this is what he said during that same news conference. Clip 2, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've said the war is, quote, very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it, and how long should Americans be prepared
Well, I think
for
you could
this war
say
to
it
last
both.
for?
It's the beginning of building a new country, but they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft equipment. It's all been blown up. They have no radar, they have no telecommunications, and they have no leadership. It's all gone. So, you could look at that statement. We could call it a tremendous success right now as we leave here. I could call it, or we could go further, and we're going to go further. But the big risk on that war has been over for 3 days. We wiped them out in the first 2 days. When you think about it, it's incredible. We wiped out a big Navy, very powerful Navy. These were ships. These were serious ships. These were ships that you buy when you want to win battles. They're all on the bottom floor. The sailors are all running off their ships. They refuse to get on the ships. The Air Force is gone. Everything's gone. The missiles are down to a trickle. The drones are down to probably 25%, and they'll soon be down to nothing. We'll have where they manufactured the drones are under fire as we speak. They're being hit. So the rest is going to be determination as to my attitude, along with the people in the Trump administration, what we want to do. Thank you.
I could go further, and we're going to go further. So what does that mean? Does that mean this war is going to be over soon, or not so fast? What do you think? 1-833-668-2577 lines available. Then there's Pete Hegseth. He's the U.S. Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, whatever. And a few days ago, he said, "We are just getting started." Clip 3, please.
The campaign has 7 times the intensity of Israel's previous operations against Iran during the 12-day war. 7 times. And as President Trump said, more and larger waves are coming. We are just getting started. We are accelerating, not decelerating.
We are just getting started. We are accelerating, not decelerating. So what does that mean? Is it almost over? Is it just getting started? What do you make of it? At the White House, the press secretary is Caroline Leavitt, and she was asked yesterday when this war will end. This is what she said. Clip 4.
As President Trump has blatantly and frankly stated, it's obviously within the best interest of the United States and the West to no longer have a radical terrorist in charge of Iran, especially as we see their reaction to Operation Epic Fury. They had their missiles turned towards our Gulf and Arab partners in the region. Again, this was a regime that chanted, or still chants, death to America. We look at the way that they are holding the entire world hostage with the restricting of the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz. So the president, I think, is making quite an obvious comment. Again, as for the timeline of the military operations with respect to Iran, we have objectives that we have laid out that the commander-in-chief wants to see achieved. When they are achieved, then it will ultimately be up to the president to end this operation.
So no real timeline there. No mention of days, no mention of weeks. But then there are all these other headlines. Quote, Strait of Hormuz must remain closed as a tool to pressure the enemy. Iran's new supreme leader says, U.S. intel warns Iran regime not in danger of collapse, even after top leaders wiped out. Iran threatens $200 oil price. Oil shock from Iran prompts countries to open strategic reserves. And just on that, of note, this is one of the largest releases ever of oil from strategic reserves. And the oil price is up right now almost 9%. It's almost $95 a barrel for WTI, and the Brent price at $100 today. Trump says stopping evil empire higher priority than surging oil prices. Khamenei signals more attacks on the U.S., opening up new fronts. Tells Iran we will destroy enemy assets to same extent. Attacks on Gulf Arab neighbors will continue. Israelis warned of more incoming missiles and drones. Israel warns Lebanon it will act against Hezbollah. No signs Iranian regime is collapsing. No signs Iranian regime is collapsing. That's another headline. And then Donald Trump says things like this. This was sometime last night at Andrews Air Force Base. Clip 5.
I think we're in very good shape. The main thing is we have to win this thing, win it quickly, but win it. And there are many people, I'm just watching some of the news, most people say it's already been won. It's just a question of when. When do we stop? We don't want to let it regrow, and ideally would like to see somebody in there that knows what they're doing. In other words, they can build a country.
What do you think? What does it all mean? Are you optimistic this war will be over soon, or are you pessimistic that it's going to drag on? 1-833-668-2577 is our call-in line. If you've never called before, just mention that. We'll make your call a priority. Tell us what you think. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. And this is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Really want your take on the war and whether you're optimistic that it'll be over soon or pessimistic and you think it's going to drag on. There are lots of lines available. 1-833-668-2577. I mean, it is certainly, it has a financial cost here in this country. I mean, just look at the roller coaster of gas prices. As we told you yesterday, prices are kind of taking a ride over the next day or so. There's no change expected in Nova Scotia's gas prices. What you see is what you get, which is about $1.62 a liter, but that's the exception. In Ontario, much different story. For example, in the Ottawa area, gas prices fell 7 cents a liter last night, but then they're expected to jump 6 cents a liter tomorrow, which would have them settle at about $1.54. Similar story in Kitchener. Drop today, jump tomorrow. So gas up today, you save 5 cents a liter because tomorrow they're expected to be about $1.55. In gas in Calgary expected to jump by a nickel a liter tomorrow. That would put the average price at about $1.52. Out in Vancouver, overnight gas prices fell a dime a liter, all the way down to the bargain basement price of $1.82. But then they're going to go back up 6 cents tomorrow, back to $1.88 a liter, and the premium fuel is already well above $2 a liter. Now, as for that oil price, everybody paying attention to the oil price. Lots of news agencies were reporting today oil hit $100 US a barrel. That's for Brent, the North Sea oil, the Brent benchmark. In this part of the world, the quote most commonly used in the news media is WTI, West Texas Intermediate. So the Brent futures hit $100 US. Right now, the oil price is up 8.4% for WTI, $94.60 US a barrel. And one of the things that's hanging over the energy market right now is that this jump in oil prices is coming despite the commitment by dozens of countries to release 400 million barrels of oil from strategic reserves in a bid to lower oil prices, calm the market because of the snarl of oil tanker traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. But so far, it hasn't accomplished that. And there are threats that Iran is willing to see the price of oil climb to $200 a barrel, which would be terrible for the economy. So that's why we want your take today on, like, what are you thinking about this war? Like, where things stand right now. I know it's not even been 2 weeks. But when you listen to the American president, he's sounding as over soon. Others are saying maybe not so fast. I want to know what your thoughts are here on this Thursday. 1-833-668-2577. Luann is up first in Calgary. Luann, thanks for calling, Luann.
Well, hi, Rob. Hi, how are you doing
Hi
today?
there. Yeah,
Hi.
very good,
So
Luann.
I'm in the pessimistic area, pessimistic big time. So here's my take on the situation. This was never about the U.S. being concerned about Iran. I mean, we all should be concerned about any kind of threats, absolutely. This was just a pessimistic way for me to think about this is we have a narcissistic fool running their country, followed by a bunch of people that don't have a brain, or if they do, they don't know how to use it. And this is a cover-up. It's a sham. It's ridiculous. It puts all the Americans and actually people across the globe at risk for no real outcome.
Okay. If it's a cover-up, what's being covered up?
The Epstein files.
I'm just curious.
Without a doubt.
Epstein
Without
files.
a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. Yes, absolutely. Like, the whole thing that happened in Venezuela, same. The whole thing that's threatening Canada, same. It's all just one large package to try to get a narcissistic fool to not be accountable for nasty stuff that he's done for most of his life. There.
All right.
I said
So
it, I feel
you're
great.
more. Well, that's good. I'm glad you feel better, but you are on the pessimistic side when you first called.
Yeah.
You think it's going to drag on?
Absolutely. Absolutely it will drag on because he doesn't know how to finish something, first of all. He is surrounded by people that are unskilled, unqualified, untrained. No one really knows what the hell they're doing over there. And so how can something come to an end when they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing and why they would start, why they would stop?
All right, Luann. Thank you for calling. Just like that, underway on Talkback on this Thursday. Love to hear from you. 1-833-668-2577 and have your say.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Are you optimistic at all that this war will be over soon? Or are you more on the pessimistic side like our first caller and think it's going to drag on? What if you're optimistic that it's going to be over soon? What is your reason for optimism? I would love to hear that case from somebody today. Eric, let's go to Nova Scotia, Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia, and speak with Eric, please. Thank you, Eric, for calling. You're on the air.
Hi, Rob. Yeah, I think unless Russia and China gets involved directly, I don't think they're ready to do that right now. I don't think it's going to last any more than another month and a half. I think the superiority of the American armament and weaponry is just too much for Iran to handle, and I don't think they were aware of the intelligence that the Americans and the Israelis had. Now, when I listen to people, and go on and go, I'm not supporting Trump here right now. Okay, I mean, when I say this, I support what's going on. Iran had to be knocked out. Will people please take a look at these fanatics? They mowed down thousands and thousands and thousands of their own people in the last 6 weeks before this war started. Nobody pays that attention to that. They are a radical Islamic group. There's no doubt about that. I don't have anything against people that are Muslim, but I have. It doesn't matter to me if they're Christian, Jewish, or
sure
anything. If they're radical, these people are radical. Look at the havoc, the death, and the mayhem they have caused in the Middle East for the last 30 years. Now, you may be aware of this, Rob, and you may not be. I'm going to assume that you are. In the radical Shiite religion, it's not about land over there. It's about eradicating the Jewish race, because they believe that all the Jews are taken off the face of the earth, their form of Messiah will come back. And if anybody thinks that they're not crazy enough to use nuclear weapons, they're very naive. And
okay, but you're saying, okay. I don't want to go down rabbit holes of religions that I have no knowledge of.
That's fine.
What I want to get at, you're optimistic that it'll be over in what did you say, like a month and a half, something like that?
I think so. Yeah. Unless the Iranians.
What gives you such optimism?
Because of the American superiority and the Israeli superiority in terms of their weaponry. Their weaponry. I've been paying attention to this. I was in the military. I have a fairly good idea about what weaponry we had when I was in, and I'm looking at what the Americans got right now. It's insane what they can do and what they can't do. I don't think the Iranians are ready for this. Now, if we get boots on the ground, it could drag out a little bit because their Republican Guard is pretty damn good. Now, but unless Russia and China get involved in this, they can't last much longer than they are. They've knocked out everything that they have. Unless, like I say,
there have been reports, though, that Russia has been providing Iran with intelligence on how to attack, U.S. assets.
Well, it could be, Rob. I don't sit down at the meetings. I'm just going by what I see and what I understand about weaponry and stuff like that. And if the reports are true, if the reports are true, what's going on and what you're hearing about the success the Israelis and the Americans are having, it seems like they're wiping the floor with these guys. So one caller you had just before I let you go, one caller you had, it made some sense. If they put boots in the ground, it's going to last a bit longer, because as soon as you put boots in the ground, it's going to prolong things. But I don't think they're going to have anything left, honestly, by the way things are going. And I'm very optimistic that it will be gone. But just remember, don't put it past the Iranians to use nuclear weapons. So they've got to go. They're dangerous, and their record proves that. Thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you, Eric. Bye-bye. Talkback. Hour number 1, halfway through here, 1-833-668-2577. Love to hear from you. After the latest breaking news, bring you right up to date on everything that's going on, and then right back to your phone calls. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
And so we are talking about the war again today, whether you're optimistic that it will be over soon or pessimistic that it will be dragged out. CNN reporting now police are responding to reports of an active shooter and a car driven into a building at Temple, Israel, a synagogue containing a school in West Bloomfield Township, Michigan. Quote, we are aware of an active security incident in Temple, Israel. Law enforcement are responding. Our Jewish agencies are currently in precautionary lockdown. We ask community members to stay away from the area at this time. So the Jewish Federation of Detroit. The incident has prompted Bloomfield Hills schools to go into secure mode. West Bloomfield Township, about 25 miles northwest of Detroit. That is a developing story right now. Back to our phone calls. Reza is in Calgary. Thanks for calling, Reza.
Good morning, Rob.
Hi there.
Thank you very much for raising the subject. I agree with those people that they called it and talk about that. But as an Iranian that I moved more than 25 years ago here in Canada, I want to give another perspective to the situation.
By all means.
In regard of Trump, I'm pretty sure it's a distraction. He's creating distraction for himself for Epstein file. But at the same time, right now, the people inside of Iran, U.S., Trump, and Israel, they have common ground and they have mutual interests. And people inside of Iran, they are happy for this interaction of American and Israel in Iran. And inside of Iran right now, today, all those military militia or IRGC, all of them, they don't care about the war between U.S. and Israel or their attack in Iran. They are worried about the people inside of Iran. They came out and they revolt as they did few days ago. So their men, right now, their police, their militia, they are everywhere in the street in Tehran and other cities. They are not worried about Israel. They don't care. And the problem that it created for Iran 47 years ago, which supported by U.S. and some European country, and all those 47 years, people inside of Iran, they pay price by being killed by those regime guys. So right now, even those Arab countries in the Persian Gulf, they tried to negotiate, be nice with those regimes, but it didn't work. After 47 years, only Iranian people they paid. They killed all the time. And all other countries, they were silent. And they didn't say anything. And those guys, those regime guys, from the first day, they said, if we leave the country, we are going to burn everything. And we are not going to leave anything behind us. And this is what they are doing. They don't care what's going to happen in Iran. They don't care what's going to happen in other countries around us. But this is what they are doing. So if
they're more concerned about having stability inside the country, among the population of the country. Is that what you're saying, Reza?
Exactly. They are worried about the people rather than U.S. and Israel.
That's very interesting.
We don't have any problem with U.S. and Israeli. You know, the second country that they live, the population of Jewish is in Iran. They live in Iran. But the problem right now is if they leave the war as it is and they go away, those guys, the first thing they are going to do, they are going to kill lots of Iranian people to revenge, because right now the people chanting and dancing in the street, and they are giving the exact location of those guys to being bombarded. So they are going to take revenge from Iranian people, and they are going to hit back hard again U.S. and Israel and all other countries surrounded around Iran. So it's better.
Do you think that this regime? Can I ask you, Reza? You would be much more familiar than I would. Do you think that this regime is going to survive?
No, absolutely not. Regardless of help of Israel or American, this regime going to collapse. But that Iranian people, they are going to pay more with their life. But right now, because they started, they shouldn't stop the war at all. They have to keep continue, but they have to take care of infrastructure because after change, those people, they are going to use it. They have to survive. But one thing I'm going to tell you, the collapse of regime is going to happen in 1 or 2 days. That's it. Right now, Israel...
In 1 or 2 days?
Yeah, exactly. You sleep and suddenly tomorrow you are going to see they are done. The only worry that they have is people come into the street as if right now people, they are waiting for Reza Pahlavi to call people to come in the street. Right now is about 2 days. Israeli with the drone, they are trying to hit the militia in the street, which it helped a lot Iranian people because they have arm, they have shotgun, and they are killing without thinking about. It's just they are shooting everyone. So
my gosh,
this is what's happening. And if they have the nuclear bomb, I'm going to guarantee first they are going to use for Iranian people rather than Western country.
Well, let's hope it doesn't, and it never comes to that. Reza, I thank you for your call and for sharing your perspective. It is greatly appreciated today on Talkback. More of your calls are just ahead. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Thoughts on the war? Optimistic it will be over soon? Pessimistic it's going to drag on? 1-833-668-2577. Dave in Halifax. Up next on Talkback. Hello, Dave.
Yes, armchair generals. You know the term armchair quarterbacks. That's what we are today. I'm optimistic. I'm kind of like Eric a bit. He was well-spoken. And, boy, your callers are great. I love hearing the the Iranians, Canadians call in because they're the ones that really know. And your Razan, was it Razan?
Reza.
Amazing.
Yeah, Reza.
Yeah. He was terrific, although I don't believe in the Epstein distraction thing. That's conspiracy crap. But, you know, people want to believe that. That's fine. This is bigger than that. This is much bigger than that. You know, this Iranian regime just does not want to back down. I mean, they've taken a hard hit. And who did they appoint? But Ayatollah's son, right? He is apparently even a much worse hardliner than the Ayatollah himself. And he has already claimed that he is going to keep the Strait of Hormuz shut down. Well, Trump, if I'm not mistaken, said if that continues, he's gone. I mean, he just put a big target on his head. Now, what I'm thinking, just like Razan said, once this bombardment, sadly, is finished, and it's almost there, I think there'll be some troops going in. And it may be the Kurds that are going to come in and help. The Kurdish people have been brutalized by the Iranians. I'm not saying Iranians, I'm saying the regime. And by the way, folks, this regime has sponsored Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, and the Houthis. They are brutal terrorist groups. My biggest fear, Rob, is on our own land here, in our own country, including Canada, with these cell groups, radical terrorist groups, which we just heard, I believe, down in Michigan, or something like, that have developed because we have let these people in the United States and in our own country where they have not been vetted. They're kooks and they're radicals, and I hope we'll see an end to these radicals and let the Iranian people evolve into move forward with the rest of the Middle East. The rest of the Middle East, and why are they shooting at the other Arab nations? Like, what are they trying to do? They are trying to create, and goodness, thank you very much to these Arab nations that haven't retaliated quite yet, but they're getting a little fed up as well. They're just shooting whatever to try to create you-know-what, in my opinion. So I'm optimistic. I think hopefully American boots don't go on the ground. Possible. You may have special forces right now, Rob, ready to go. I could guarantee you there are. And it won't take many to get that, and I think even sorry, Rob, but I think Trump even said, the Army, put your guns down, right? We're going to give you a chance here. And once the dust settles, I think you're going to see some movement with a regime change. I'm impressed, Reza, that he thinks in another 3 days or 4. Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. He thinks that's going to be toppled, and I can see that happening. It could. And
all right, so you're optimistic. I got you. You're more on the optimistic side. We'll wait and see what happens. I appreciate your call, Dave. I do want to take another one, however. It is from your part of the country. It's John in Halifax. Hello, John.
How you doing, Rob?
Very good, John. Thank you.
I'm so pessimistic that unbelievable. Dementia Don and his lackeys, they have no clue. They have no plans in place. They are being controlled by the mega, as in oil companies and the war machine. All this being made. They're making all this money. He doesn't care about the Iranians dying and that. Look at the 30,000 that were just killed by the Iranian leader, right? And when it comes to the oil, if they touch that refineries and stuff like that and the tanks, China's going to get pulled in because most of the oil they get is from Iran, right? And the United States
about half.
The United States only has 65% of their oil reserves right now, and they're going to put out another 100 million. They're in trouble there. But all this is just a big old distraction with the Epstein files, the voting, Governor Carney, everything, going after Venezuelans, all distraction. The Democrats don't know where to start. They don't know what to attack because there's so many things to attack, right? But right now, that war is going to go forever. It's going to go
forever.
For a long time. Because you know why? Look at what happened with Iraq. Iraq's a lot smaller than Iran, right? And it took them, 7 years or something like that to clean it up? And even then, it's not even cleaned up, right? And if they lose that, if they take out the leader, there's going to be another guy stepping in, right? And they have no problem killing their own people. The United States doesn't care about them. It's just a big old show. So the war machine makes their money. God makes his.
Okay. All right. All right. So it's going to drag on because it's to the benefit of the military industrial complex, and they have no plan. Loud and clear, John. Thank you for your call. Be right back on the phone lines. 1-833-668-2577 on the war today. Talking about the war. Over soon? Are you optimistic it could end soon, or is this going to drag on? 1-833-668-2577. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Is there a reason to be optimistic that this war could end soon, or are you pessimistic that it could drag on potentially for a very long time? 1-833-668-2577 to join the discussion as we go to Kitchener for the first time today. Elias is there. Hello, Elias.
It's not the first time. I call you all the time, my friend.
Well, I thank you for calling. What's your opinion, Elias?
Okay. My opinion is that I am optimistic that this war is going to be over soon.
And why? Why are you optimistic?
The reason is Donald Trump, the last couple of days, he was saying this war is going to be end soon. And the last night, I don't know if you heard, he said, we won. He said, we won the war. And this morning, Iran, they have the new supreme leader in power.
Yes.
And he threatened that he's going to block the Hormuz for the oil to go through, and the price is going to go up to $200.
Yes.
So I don't think that Donald Trump is going to wait until the price is going up to $200 a barrel.
So what do you think he's going to do then? What do you think he's going to do then to avoid that from happening? Just end the war? Is that what you think?
Yeah, he's going to say, for now, we won. We're going to give time for the new leader. If you don't think he's going to change his mind, we're going to see it. So we're going to give him time for the time being, we won the war, and he's going to stop this war.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's a very
by
interesting
Saturday,
analysis. Yeah.
Maybe by Saturday, within 2 weeks, this war is going to be over. That is my take.
Okay, but yeah, and you think it's because Donald Trump doesn't want to see $200 a barrel oil, so he'll want to wind it down before it gets that far. Okay, thank you. Let's go to who's up next here. Where do you want to go, Rick? How about Rick? Yeah, sure. Hi, Rick in Calgary.
How are you?
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Very good, Rick. Thank you for calling. What do you think?
Well, I'm extremely pessimistic, and here's why. Let's look at the history. Iran has been at war with the West almost since we did the regime change back in the 50s, getting rid of the democratically elected government and imposing the Shah of Iran. This has been a 70-year war that's been percolating, and now it's been kicked open. And people forget that war is not just simply taking out military assets. They have had 70 years to build up terror cells, radicals, methodologies to induct people. There have been Western people inducted into and committed terrorism. And it's a multidimensional war. They now have economics as a weapon. So, okay, so the active war on the ground fizzles out. They can still terrorize and blow up our infrastructure anywhere in the Middle East, anywhere in North America, anywhere in Europe, and continue to do that and reign on terror. So this could be our 100-year war, starting way back when we followed the oil companies to prevent Iran from nationalizing their oil and creating the situation for the first revolution, bringing in the Ayatollah. So, we have to look at all the dimensions, and it's multifaceted.
Yes. Yeah, you raised something interesting. Of course, in the news yesterday was this potential threat for a drone attack on California. If something like that, heaven forbid, were to unfold, how does that change, the mindset of this war? Does that draw the United States in even further? Yeah, it's just one more component. You're very smart for raising it. Thank you. Hour number 1 of Talkback in the books, a full hour just ahead.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Talkback. The war in the Middle East is our topic today. We are asking if you're optimistic it's going to be over soon, or more on the pessimistic side, that it's going to drag out. Let's listen to some recent comments again. This from a couple of days ago from U.S. President Donald Trump, sounding what I would describe as optimistic that it's going to come to an end soon. Clip 1 again, please.
On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over? Are
No,
you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very
to...
soon. Look, everything they have is gone, including their leadership. In fact, there are 2 levels of leadership, and even actually, as it turns out, more than that. But 2 levels of leadership are gone. Most people have never even heard about the leaders that they're talking about. So it's obviously been very, very powerful, very effective.
Soon, very soon. And then later during that same news conference. Clip 2, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've said the war is, quote, very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it, and how long should Americans be prepared
Well, I think
for
you could
this war
say
to
it
last
both.
for?
It's the beginning of building a new country, but they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft equipment. It's all been blown up. They have no radar, they have no telecommunications, and they have no leadership. It's all gone. So, you could look at that statement. We could call it a tremendous success right now as we leave here. I could call it, or we could go further, and we're going to go further. But the big risk on that war has been over for 3 days. We wiped them out in the first 2 days. When you think about it, it's incredible. We wiped out a big Navy, very powerful Navy. You know, these were ships. These were serious ships. These were ships that you buy when you want to win battles. They're all on the bottom floor. The sailors are all running off the ships. They refuse to get on the ships. The Air Force is gone. Everything's gone. The missiles are down to a trickle. The drones are down to probably 25%, and they'll soon be down to nothing. We'll have where they manufacture the drones are under fire as we speak. They're being hit. So the rest is going to be a determination as to my attitude, along with the people in the Trump administration, what we want to do. Thank you.
Okay. So when you hear Donald Trump speak about the status of this war, almost 2 weeks since it started, do you have reasons to be optimistic when you listen to what he's saying? 1-833-668-2577 as we get hour number 2 of Talkback underway with a call from Cameron in Calgary. Thank you for calling, Cameron.
Oh, hi there.
Yeah, hi, Cameron. Yeah, good to hear from you. What's your opinion, please?
So, I think I'm very optimistic it'll end soon. The reasons are not like what our southern neighbors are saying. The reasons are totally economic.
Totally economic. Please explain.
The Strait of Hormuz, you cannot keep it closed for a very long time. It has to get open. So ultimately what will happen in next few days, in my opinion, the Arab countries, the Gulf Arab countries, they will come to U.S. They will tell them that, hey, let's stop it. We have to open it. Their own economy is going away. All other countries in the world, they are getting affected. I mean, it's not just the oil, which when oil hikes up in the price, everything else does. So everyone will come to U.S. and ask them to stop it. So that is the reason. Otherwise, I mean, if they want to linger it on, they can. Look at the history of Iranians. This is another angle. They have always been resilient. And I'm saying in a positive way. I mean, look at it like from the time of Roman Empire, and they have always been resilient. So if we need it, they'll keep on going like this. But it's the rest of the world who is getting affected. So rest of the world will go to the main stakeholders and ask them to stop it.
Okay, but the president, even today, President Trump said stopping the evil empire is a higher priority than surging oil prices. But you seem to think he's going to blink on this.
I would say so, yeah.
You would say so. At the behest of the other Gulf states who are seeing their economies eroded and they're being attacked as well.
Yes, I mean, they're totally stopped. Like in all of those Gulf states, their economy is what? Oil, their tourism.
Oil and gas.
Luxury. Yeah. Everything is stopped right there. So State of Hormuz cannot be closed for a very long time.
All right. Very interesting analysis. I thank you for calling today, and I welcome more of your calls as we get hour number 2 of Talkback underway. 1-833-668-2577. Optimistic, pessimistic. Is it over soon? Does it drag on? Some people have suggested days. Cameron thinks it'll be a matter of days. But other callers have suggested that as well. In the first hour, some people said, I don't think so. Maybe years. A forever war. What do you think? Have your say. Join the discussion. It's Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Optimistic, pessimistic. Is this war going to end soon or drag on? 1-833-668-2577. Should we take comfort at all in what Donald Trump is saying about this war? What he sees as the objectives of the United States and the progress made so far, that he sounds like he's close to achieving those objectives. And when he feels that his objectives have been met, all of this will come to an end, or is that just wishful thinking? Have your say on Talkback today. Gary is in Calgary. Thanks for calling, Gary. You're on the line, and on the line.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Gary.
Donald Trump being Donald Trump, we don't take too seriously what he says. He changes his mind here and there. I think one thing, in my opinion, that's going to happen, he's going to have to do, maybe even get boots on the ground and secure the Gulf of Hormuz. That's probably one of the most important things to do. The bombings in that have made a mess in Iran. And now it's critical. It's critical to a lot of nations to get that Gulf opened up and get ships moving again.
Yeah. So what does that mean, do you think, for the timeline of things if there are boots on the ground? Everyone says boots on the ground means a longer war.
And that's highly possible given what's happened in the past, or maybe not. Maybe this will be a little bit different. But I don't know if it's going to, who knows? It's going to come to an end quickly. If, in fact, they have obliterated a lot of, the Navy, the Air Force, if they've made good progress that way, okay, so there's going to be less opposition. They're not going into the country. They don't have to go into Iran. But I think the Gulf of Hormuz would be priority. So who can speculate? You can't say. You just never know. But you wouldn't think that this would drag out for very long.
Okay, well, when you hear the president say something like, well, it's very complete, most of our aims were achieved, the first 2 or 3 days of the war, does that lead you to believe that it will be over soon?
Well, if we can believe Donald Trump, perhaps so. He'll say one thing and then make his comments slightly different later on to another reporter. So who can be sure? We can't be sure.
All right. Okay. Thank you for your call. Emerson is up next. He's in Calgary as well. Hello, Emerson.
Yes, Rob, you're asking if we think the war will be over soon. Here's the problem. The war hasn't even begun yet. You might think it's up to Trump.
Why do you say that?
You say it's up to Trump to decide whether this is going to end or not. I have a better question. I think it's up to the new supreme leader, the son of the Ayatollah Khomeini. I think they have a different idea, and they're not just going to say, "Oh, you killed our leader. You're happy with the result. Okay, it's peace. Let's move on. Wake up and smell the roses, Mr. Trump. Wait till you see what's coming your way." These guys have nothing to lose at this point but to fight for their own pride. And so you're saying that Trump is saying, "Oh, yeah, we're very close to ending it." You might think you are, but they aren't. So we're in for a long run here. This is going to get ugly, Rob. I'm sorry, but I'm looking at it on the other side of the coin. It's not up to the Americans. It's up to the Iranians. And they're not going to let this go. You just killed their supreme leader, and you think it's all going to come down to what Trump wants? I got news for Mr. Trump. It's not the happy ending he was expecting, Rob. That's what I have to say.
All right. Thank you. 1-833-668-2577. Some people are sounding optimistic in a weird way, I guess, that the oil price is high. Certainly in his statement today, Donald Trump, he posted on social media, he didn't seem that concerned with the price of oil. It was more about defeating the enemy, the evil empire. But I think about the politics of this. There are all kinds of reasons for Trump and the Republicans to be worried about the higher price of oil, the drag that's going to have on the economy, the cost to everyone, the inflation that could be unleashed because of higher oil prices. And in the United States, it's a midterm election year. Americans they're grumbling about higher gas prices already. They just keep climbing. The average price for a gallon of gas in U.S. dollars across the United States, $3.60 a gallon. When you take into account for the exchange rate, that's $1.29 a liter Canadian, which is, that's high for an American gas price. And Americans are all over their local news in the U.S., just like Canadians are all over the local news in this country, complaining about the high price of gas and all the hardship that comes along with that. Maybe in some kind of weird way, that adds incentive for everyone involved in this war to figure out a way to put a stop to it sooner rather than later. What do you think? 1-833-668-2577. Let's stop here. We'll wait for some more calls for Talkback hour number 2. I'm Rob Snow, and this is Now You Know on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
And back to our phones. Optimism, pessimism. Is this war over soon? Does it drag on? Minnow in Calgary up next on Talkback. Hi there.
Hi, Rob.
Yeah, hi there. What's your opinion?
Well, it's a real what do you call it? Can of worms, you know. What's happening is the price of oil has nothing to do with the supply. It's set by OPEC and Texas, whatever. They set a price, right? And because there's a shortage in India, all of a sudden the price goes up. And it goes up substantially. And you know why Trump is happy? Because it's making his oil buddies rich. It's making his buddy in Russia, Putin, rich. It's a game. It's about oil, and he'll carry on the war as long as he wants. You know.
Okay. He says it's very complete. Very complete.
The war is complete?
Very complete is what he told CBS News earlier in the week. It's very complete.
Well, yeah, it's complete as long as he wants to do it. And the thing is, this situation in Iran is these guys are radicals, like the Yahs, right? They're radical. And they combine their government with these religious radicals. So there's I don't know. I think the average Iranian is not a radical. And more they're Persian, right? The Persian Empire, they're peaceful people, and they're good people, but they're being controlled by this religious fanatical government.
Okay. And under your scenario, then you foresee a long war.
Well, yeah, but it depends on him, right? It depends on Trump, because like right now it's working for him because they're not talking about his Epstein, and his his shortcomings. Like he's getting away. He's got a breathing space here, right? So he thinks that it might just distract him long enough that till after the midterms.
Yeah, but as I say, maybe they're they might be trading one problem for another here. Okay, they're not talking about the Epstein files, but what they are talking about is a gas price that's at $3.60 a gallon, and the Americans don't want to pay $3.60 a gallon for gas, and everything that does to the economy. The cost of living is a big issue there.
Well, you know what?
There'll be a lot more people in the United States upset about having to pay $3.60 a gallon for gas than there are Americans who are upset about the Epstein files. I would suggest.
Yeah, okay, I agree. But have you heard of the term kleptocrat?
Kleptocrat, yes.
He's robbing his own people. You know what happened in Russia? The oligarchs stripped Russia. They took all the wealth there was when when
the economy opened up under Perestroika and Glasnost, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and they're the guys that have the money now. You think the same thing is happening
in the? You think the same thing is happening in the United States? So that it's turning into an oligarchy, a kleptocratic economy.
Well, I would call the oil conglomerate an oligarch. They control like the. Well,
I don't know. I mean, I would suggest. I mean, certainly, $100 a barrel oil price is good for the oil companies, but look at the most profitable, the most powerful companies in the United States these days are not the oil companies. They're the tech companies. When we come back, more of your calls. Anita Anand took some questions as well. She's Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, made an announcement today. $37.7 million in aid going to Lebanon. But she also took questions about just the entire situation in that region and Canada's role there when we return.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yeah, back to it. Let's get to Wayne is up next. He's in Calgary today. Hi, Wayne. Thanks for calling Talkback.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine, Wayne. What's your opinion? Do you think this war is going to be over soon?
It's going to be a long war. And now let's define long. I think it's going to be 3 or 4 months with U.S. participation, but I think Israel will continue on its own. Israel is like a dog with a bone. They don't let things go very easily. A very emotional state, as are Muslim states, and they're going to they could be vicious. I think what's going to affect the U.S. involvement is the midterms, and I think Trump is going to lose support, and the American people aren't going to have the stomach for a guerrilla war, which the United States, nor Russia for that matter, can win. They've proven that guerrilla warfare, troops on the ground, didn't work in Afghanistan. It didn't work in Iraq. It doesn't work anywhere. And even Russia right now in Ukraine, it's been 4 years. It's guerrilla warfare, and they can't win it.
And with Afghanistan, both Russia and the United States, I guess, learned that the hard way. Graveyard of empires.
So the best they can do these days, Rob, is bomb the hell out of somebody and hope they get their key targets. But as we've learned with the school bombing by the U.S., you're only as effective as your intelligence is, and I think Trump is his hands are going to be forced, because I think Congress is going to shut him down, or midterms are just going to make his popularity so horrible. He's going to have to start listening to somebody else other than his own personal feelings. But I think this war is going to go on for a while. I'm thinking Israel will let it go.
4 months, 4 or 5 months. You're thinking July, August, around there. Then, okay.
Yes, sir. And
all right, very interesting.
With the possibility that Israel will take it, will do it on their own. They'll go it alone.
There's major operations happening on both sides with Hezbollah in Lebanon, but certainly Israel is making a push into Lebanon. Thank you for your call. Now, speaking of Lebanon, let's go back to Ottawa. The Foreign Affairs Minister, Anita Anand, announced Canadian aid for Lebanon today in excess of $37 million. And after the announcement, took some questions from members of the press gallery. We have some of it. I haven't heard this yet. Let's listen to it.
Canadians who wish to leave Kuwait, but Kuwait law requires that they have an export permit issued by their employer, and employers are denying export permits that Canadians need to leave Kuwait. I wonder, as a matter of international law, whether you think export permits are a good idea, and what can the Canadian government do in this case to help these Canadians who wish to leave Kuwait but are trapped there?
Well, thank you for the question, David. During times of crisis, diplomacy is a powerful tool. I called the Minister Al-Saba, on this very issue and asked him to expedite the ability of Canadians to leave. He agreed wholeheartedly, and Global Affairs Canada is urgently providing the list of Canadians wishing to leave so that list can be quickly approved and the Canadians at issue are able to leave. Again, I do not hesitate to pick up the phone, to call my counterpart, and to ask and ensure that the interests of Canadians are protected at all times, as I did in this particular case. Thank you.
You said that Hezbollah has to lay down.
Le camp canadien qui a été touché par un missile iranien. Pouvez-vous nous donner plus d'informations par rapport à cette situation-là?
Maintenant, je n'ai pas l'information là-dessus, mais je sais que le ministre Mégati...
All right, let's leave that. We'll pick it up if you could cue it up to the next English question for me. Curtis, really appreciate that. Ryan is up next in Calgary. Thanks for waiting, Ryan. You're on the air.
Hey, Rob. How's it going?
Yeah, very good, Ryan. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we need to
Go
get
ahead.
boots on the ground and send Canadian soldiers and French soldiers like we used to do and give them big spankings, and never do this again and treat your people with respect. We'll tie them up in the streets and show them what not to do.
All
like
right.
we
Yeah.
used to
Okay.
do.
You really want to see Canadian forces on the ground?
No, I
Really?
pray for all the soldiers. We've already lost, I think, 7 Americans already. But they got to learn their lesson. Like, we're getting soft. We got rid of capital execution in Canada.
Yeah.
And we let
right.
pedophiles.
I don't know,
the
Ryan. You're not making a lot of sense. You're jumping all over the place. You want to bring back capital punishment now? Like, where is this going? Where is this conversation going? All right, well, let's stop here. There are lines available there, 1-833-668-2577. It's Talkback on News Radio, staying focused on the question that we're asking here today. Optimistic, pessimistic. You have Donald Trump saying this war is very complete. You have people at the Pentagon like Pete Hegseth talking as though defeat for the Iranian military is all but a certainty, and that in effect most of that has happened already. And in the same breath saying we are just getting started. So what do you see happening here? 1-833-668-2577. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Optimistic, pessimistic. Is this war over soon? Does it drag on? Wonder if anything's happening on the diplomatic front. None of what I'm seeing or reading sounds very hopeful on the diplomatic front, but I guess none of us really knows what's going on behind the scenes. I will say that, the statement from the new supreme leader of Iran, he sounds every bit like a chip off the old block, meet the new boss, same as the old. I mean, as for Trump and the people around him, they say they're not interested in regime change or a forever war that takes 20 years and accomplishes very little. But then at the same time, they say they want to get the right people in there, which sort of sounds like they want to change the regime. So I don't know. It's kind of the fog of war right now. But if anyone has a reason why the world should be optimistic that this war could end soon, we'd very much appreciate hearing it today on Talkback. Mike is in Calgary. Thanks for calling, Mike. You're up next.
Hey, Rob. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, Mike. Thanks. What's your opinion?
So with the whole thing about this war being over soon, I think it's going to be, just like your caller said a few callers back, it's going to be a long haul. Like, you've got a country of close to 70 million people in Iran, and they couldn't overthrow their Islamic regime. You think a bunch of guys from the U.S. are going to go and change a regime that's been there for how many years now? And then on another point
47
years. You've killed their biggest Islamic, their guy. You think anybody's going to let that go? Iran has the issue with Iran is you've got a bunch of university kids and westernized citizens that want to change, but they're few. If you talk to real Iranians, they're happy with the way they live. They're happy living there. There's 70 million people. It's smaller. It's the size of, I think Iran is a little bit smaller than Canada, right?
Well, yeah. Geographically, it's a lot smaller than Canada, for sure.
So you've got 70 million people that couldn't overthrow their government, and now you're like. And another point, Rob. Sorry, but I'm going to switch topics a bit. I'll tell you when this war is going to be over. This war is going to be over when Israel takes over Lebanon. That's the whole goal. Israel took over Syria. They have influence in Syria. They didn't take it over. They influenced Syria, and now they want to do the same thing with Lebanon. And they're trying to create division between Sunni and Shia and the Christians in Lebanon. They're hoping for an all-out civil war, so they come in and sweep up. It's all in the hands of Israel when this whole war is going to be finished.
Okay, but just if we could circle back to the Iranian situation, we took a call from an Iranian Canadian earlier who said the focus of the regime right now isn't even so much on what's happening internationally, but they're trying to maintain some kind of like domestic stability. They're just trying to hang on in their own country, and he was anticipating that the Iranian people would actually rise up and revolt against this regime. What do you think about that?
There's a small amount of them, them kind of Iranians that do want to rise up, but there's a huge support for the Iranian regime. There's a huge support there. You know, the small group, yeah, they've been oppressed. They got, they left their country. They're butthurt. But there's a huge, like nobody knows, but there's a lot of people in Iran that are going to stay there. We're talking 70 million people. If 70 million people weren't happy, or 80% of those 70 million people weren't happy, Rob, they would overthrow their government in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but they've been oppressed, right? They're oppressed, and if you go out marching in the streets and you get mowed down by your own government, that's going to dissuade people from going into the streets, right? And pretend that they're happy.
Yeah, what? You know what, Rob? Yeah, you know what, Rob? But trust me on this. We can't believe everything we see in the Western media. I know a lot of Iranians. I know a lot of Libyans. I know a lot of Iraqis. I know a lot of Afghanis, and they cry the same cry. The states went in, not minding their own business, and they created chaos, and now the country has been overthrown and in turmoil. You know how many Iraqis have told me they'd be better off with Saddam Hussein? Or how many Libyans told me they'd be better off with Gaddafi? It's the same thing over and over again. This is a way for, number one, Israel to gain land, and number two, America to make their rich richer, okay, with the oil and all that stuff, and just cause fear amongst all countries. Like, you think Trump is going to get away with killing people and kidnapping governments and stuff like this, and nobody's going to come back? Like, even Israel in Gaza war, how many orphans are there? You think these orphans...
It's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible what's going on in Gaza. You'll get no quarrel from me. It's terrible what's going on in Gaza. Again, I would circle back. Let's not forget. Israel was not in Gaza. There was a ceasefire, and then October 7th happened, and look what it unleashed. It's terrible. It's a human tragedy. It's a human catastrophe. Got to run, though. Be right back. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Long war, short war, optimistic, pessimistic. It's almost been 2 weeks. What's your sense of it? Mike in Calgary. Thanks for calling, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
How's it going?
Yeah, good, Mike. Thanks. Go ahead.
I'm optimistic. I think it'll be done probably within a month and a half, 2 months, like one of your earlier callers.
All right.
I would hope it is, because I'd like to see the loss of life stop, which would be great. Right? I know lots of Iranians, and they're the ones that I know here, and I can't speak for everybody, but the ones that I know are happy about it, because the regime change in 1979, when it happened, turned that state from what a lot of Iranians say was a Western-style development state to like a Muslim republic, and they would like to see it go back
theocracy.
to before 19.
It became a theocracy. Sure. Yeah.
That was the word I was looking for. And they would like to see it because the Iranian people they're smart. They have all the ability to be an economic superpower, and it's just being, well, in my mind, squandered the wrong way. Right? They could be an oil powerhouse like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, all over the Middle East. And I hope they get back to that and their lives will be better. Now, why I'm more optimistic about this ending faster is, well, some of your other callers were saying, oh, it's a cover-up for the Epstein files. That's utterly ridiculous.
Utterly ridiculous.
I don't know if anyone's looked.
It's very popular.
Utterly ridiculous.
For a ridiculous opinion, it's a very popular opinion. I will say that.
Well, I don't agree with the Epstein files. I think they're bad, right? And I think everything that happened in them are bad. I haven't really looked into them far enough, but nuclear war is worse.
Yes,
I would think.
Yes.
Bombs start going off from one place to the other, the whole world goes. It seems a little more worse than the Epstein files, to say the least. They're not going away. So no matter what happens now, whether this war happens or not, right? The Epstein files are still being released, and it's in mainstream media. So they're not going anywhere. They can't be covered up now. Nuclear war, though, needs to be stopped. And I don't think the States is going to allow it to get that far before they just say, okay, we're done. We're not playing games anymore, and they're just going to go in and wipe out what they can. And I hope all the Iranian people out there stay safe, and I hope all the ones here in Canada check on their families back home, and I hope the best for all of them. Right?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah, good call, Mike. Thank you. If I'll just circle back to the Shah. You brought up the Shah pre-79. I mean, there was a reason the Islamic Revolution happened. It, in part, was because of the record of the last Shah. The last Shah in Iran was widely viewed as a puppet of the United States. He was seen as corrupt. He was brutal. He had his own secret police. He used torture. He surveilled his population. He imprisoned political dissidents. That was part of the reason there was the revolution in 79. He was seen as a very decadent man who was out of touch with his people. He was enriching himself while there was widespread poverty, and he was installed by a coup that was in part engineered by the CIA and MI6 out of the UK. A return to that dynasty, I'm not sure. A democratic secular government? Okay. Jonathan, last call in Edmonton. Thank you, Jonathan.
Hi, Rob. First-time caller here.
Yeah. Good to hear from you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I have 2 cents regarding the matter. So I believe for the war to end, NATO must join in, and I believe they will join in.
NATO must join in. Wow.
Yeah. Because Israel and the U.S., they're not enough to end this war as soon as possible. So, second thing, Iranian must choose a leader without Ayatollah blood in them. As long as there's an Ayatollah in the regime, this will not end.
Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. I'm glad we could fit your call in, all your calls today. Thank you so much for your contributions, everyone. Tomorrow's the Friday Free for All Talkback. So we'll be more than happy to follow your lead and talk about any topic you want to. That's tomorrow. Until then, the latest breaking news is next on News Radio.